We're back. Had some technical difficulties for some reason. My mic wasn't coming through. We even swapped the microphone and it still wasn't working. So we're back. We're live at 5:04. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. If you're still here from after all the technical difficulties, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for waiting. Sometimes those things happen. That's show business, as they say.
Yeah.
There's no business like show business. But that's that. So let's talk guitars. It's cooler than show business. So I've got two guitars we're going to go over real quick first. Not a ton to highlight on these guitars. Just real basic kind of things. I have one guitar we're going to talk over real quick. That's as I'm like, oh, let's talk about these two guitars. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, wait. Oh, we didn't grab the other one. So I got one guitar. We're just going to highlight real quick and go over. And that'll be the start to the show. You know, everything's fine. We're rolling with the punches around here.
Oh, hey.
This one is very unique. It's my word of the day, unique. Because today's all the one-offs, the oddballs, the things you don't really see all that often. When I say one-offs, I guess I don't really technically mean a one-of-a-kind, which I know that's kind of what that means. What I'm saying is these are things that you'd see online every day, but you're not going to see in your average local music store. And that's not a knock on other local music stores. It's just kind of what we're getting at is we carry a lot of stuff. If you've ever been inside Island Music, you know we carry a lot of stuff. Like this right here. This is the Warwick W. Well, I call it the W, but it's the W. This is from Warwick's 30th anniversary. And you're probably wondering, Jack, why is it called the W? Well, it's shaped like a W. We currently have this listed as on our eBay up for bid, just because as of right now, as you might be able to notice, there are no strings. There are no preamp. Like everything's back here control-wise. There's no knobs. I think it's even missing one of the pots. It is listed for bid on our eBay, I think as is. Just play like, you know, you get it, you fix it up, it's yours. The pickups are not original. There had been some work done to get those in there. They did not come with these EMGs. So it's up for bid. There's not really too much else to say about it other than it was a 30th anniversary adventure from Warwick. So it's a really cool piece. The W, yeah, it's on eBay. Go ahead and check it out if you want to look it up. I'm not sure what the bid is up to, but it's just a fun little thing to share. You don't see these every day. We've had a lot of really interesting pieces come through over the years. Jake, I don't know if you remember the banjo bass. Yeah. That thing hung around for a little bit. And when I say banjo bass, I mean like take your banjo and then blow it like to scale for the 34-inch scale length that you would get on a bass.
Yeah.
That was it. It was literally a giant banjo, with 4 strings. It was crazy. Of course, it didn't sound like a bass really. It didn't sound like a banjo. It just kind of flubbed around. It kind of sounded like a wash tub when you put the string on a wash tub.
And then there's the guitar version. That's
you get the 6-string banjos. And it's we get guitaleles that come through.
Oh yeah.
The mandocello.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we get like the full solid brass body resonators that weigh 3,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. And people love them. People fall in love with them. These unique instruments, these special brands and breeds of musical instruments. People just fall in love with them, take it home. We have a pocket trumpet over on the counter right now. Mm-hmm. We have a double neck guitar from Dan Electro, 6 strings, 12 strings. We get all kinds of very interesting things that come through the door. And so part of that was I wanted to highlight some of those, talk about them today, because it's one of those things where unless you step foot into a music store like Island Music, you might not know some of these things ever existed, because all you see online are, oh, here's another Strat, here's a Tele, here's a Les Paul, here's that Ibanez, here's a PRS, here's a Rickenbacker. And sometimes that's all I see, Martin Taylor. I think about it. But when you come to stores like ours that just carry such a wide array of things, you find some pretty unique stuff. Like the W. Like, we kind of briefly mentioned the mandocello. Mm-hmm. This is a mandola. Mandola is tuned in fifths from the mandolin. So if a mandolin is soprano, the mandola is alto. It is very common when it comes to like Irish folk music and different things of that breed of nature. But this is something you won't come across very often. One, because just not a lot of stores carry it. But two, since there aren't a lot of stores don't carry it, a lot of manufacturers don't make it. This is from Gold Tone. We also carry them from Eastman. Because those two are like the only primary mass producers of mandolas, there aren't a ton out there. So a lot of times they're not in stock, even from places that would normally carry them. So not a lot to talk about. Spruce top, mahogany body. This comes in what Gold Tone refers to as the Folkternative family of instruments, which is kind of like your off-the-wall folk instruments. Like think your traditional folk instruments are like dreadnought acoustics, mandolins, violins, fiddles. And Jake, what's the difference between a violin and a fiddle?
Size.
A violin has strings.
Mm-hmm.
A fiddle's got strings. Just so we're all clear, I did not come up with that joke, but I do tell it all the time.
Well, that's not the one I thought you were gonna go with.
Oh, is there another one?
Yeah, one. The violin wear shoes. The fiddle no shoes.
Ooh, it's good too, right? Do you play fiddle? Do you wear shoes?
That's what I was told.
Answered the question right there.
That's what I was told.
Let's see. Tune in fifths, spruce top, mahogany body. Yeah, the Gold Tone mandola. This one we've talked about probably about a year ago, not too long after the show first started. This is the Effector, or the Effector, because it has an O in there, by Cort. And they came in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. So it wasn't just like the Explorer type. I combined style and type. It wasn't just the Explorer style guitars. You found it in all kinds of things. But the really cool thing about this is all these buttons here. You're probably thinking, it's just a regular Explorer. No, the Effector, whatever the effect, I'm calling it the Effector, has built-in effects. So if you wanted your guitar to be distorted, you just hit the button down here. You want chorus, it's right there. You want wah, it's right there. All these effects were built into the guitar. And you didn't really have to mess with the pedal board. You could just hit them. Now the downside is you're not really gaining a lot of control over these effects. You have three knobs. You have volume, tone, and speed. Mm-hmm. And speed is more for the effects, not for the guitar, because you have things like vibrato and tremolo. So the speed affects those. But it was a very cool feature. It's a very fun thing to have. It's been floating around used for a while now. So if you're interested in this, give me a call, shoot me a message, and I'll work a deal on you. And we'll get this out the door for you. But it's very cool. And like I said, the onboard effects, you don't see that very often. Nowadays, if you do, it's probably in the ways of MIDI. But this isn't MIDI. This is literally press a button, get a sound. Like this is, yeah. So the Cort Effector in the Explorer style. You know, effects aside, who doesn't want a black Explorer? It's a classic guitar. Put some nice Seymour Duncan pickups in there and you're ready to roll. A set of the JB59s, you're set. Let's see. Oh, let's talk about this guy. This is amazing. We posted a video about this earlier today. This is from Ibanez. This is a 7-string fan-fretted bass with a 9-piece neck and these pickups. You might be thinking, what are those pickups? Well, they're not humbucker, they're not single coil, they're called dual coil. And the purpose of these is you might be noticing each individual coil. So instead of it being one humbucker or 4 single coils, they're literally just stacked on top of each other, but they're coiled separately. And what that allows you to get is you get a tighter bass response, you get clear projection of your highs, and you can also adjust the height with each one. You can lower it here, higher it here. You can lower it higher wherever. And because they're staggered, they also give you a nice even thumb rest across if you just wanted a little thumb rest while you're playing. Because sometimes if you get your pickups that go slanted along with the multi-scale, your whole thumb would end up being slanted with everything. But because they're dual stacked like this, it's an even surface there. So if you're a thumb rest kind of bass player, you got that there. I'm not going to hold this for very long because without a strap, this one is a little cumbersome. I will be honest about that. 9-piece neck. We're looking at walnut, maple, panga, maple, walnut, panga, maple. And you might be thinking, I'm never going to remember that. It's okay. That's fine. But that 9-piece neck, and it's through body, which means improved sustain. Incredible durability. This bass sounds very awesome. It's sweet. It has your, your mid control. So you have 3 phases of mid EQ. You have your EQ bypass, we're very familiar with Ibanez, we talked last week. You have treble, mid, and bass cut and boost. So rather than a mix of EQ, you can cut it or boost it. And then you also have your volume and tone. With this bass, it covers almost all the tone woods that we talked about from Ibanez last week. This bass alone, as we already mentioned in the neck, uses panga panga, maple, and walnut. But on the body, it's using ash and okume. And then it uses a Bubinga top. So yeah, covers all kinds of tone woods. It has a 0 fret on the top to give you the best action possible when you're adjusting, especially when it comes to a multi-scale with this many strings. This is a phenomenal piece of workmanship and quality to come from Ibanez. This is something you won't see everywhere. This is what I would consider unique. You're not going to find this at just any old music store. The 7-string BTB from Ibanez. All right. I got 2 things left. So, man, this is a tough call because they're both super unique in their own ways. We're going to go with the sitar. Honestly, if we were fully stocked on Danelectro like we are sometimes, we could have done this whole episode just off of Danelectro inventory alone.
Yeah.
The double neck guitar on the other side is Danelectro. They do these really cool resonator electric guitars, the Longhorn bass, the 67, I think it is, the new old stock 59s. Like, there's all kinds of, like, even just the other, like, the actual sitars that they do, not the sitar guitar, but, like, there's all kinds of crazy things Danelectro does that we could have done a whole episode on unique inventory just from Danelectro. Like, why not? So this is the sitar. It also has a mini harp. If you're probably thinking, what's it? Got the sitar. I know you probably can't hear it. A little mini harp up here, which I know needs tuned. I meant to tune it before the show and I didn't. Now it just sounds like a horror movie because it's out of tune. All right, I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm giving myself the chills. This guitar has 3 pickups. You have your neck, bridge, and mini harp. All 3 are the lipstick style pickups that everyone knows Danelectro for. You have a volume and tone for each pickup, in case you're wondering why are there so many knobs. Volume and tone control for each pickup. You're probably noticing, though, there is no selector on this guitar. So it's all active all the time, which is why you have a volume and tone for each pickup, because everything's just right there. So if you don't want the bridge pickup, just take it out. You don't want the mini harp, just take it out. Or blend it in a little bit. Do what you want to do. These are super fun, super rare, I'd say. I can't remember how many. I did a little search online. I think only like 3 or 4 stores popped up that actually had them in stock, if that. This comes in a nice white crackle finish. It's going to be hard to see from there just because of the way it's lighting. Maybe you can see it. Just simple output. It's all right there. Think like, yeah, there's all kinds of music you can play for it, but like from a modern music sense, well, I say modern, but think about like all the Beatles tunes you could punch out with this thing. I mean, grab this and a bass 6 and you're good to go. You're like a Beatles super band. The Danelectro sitar. I'm not sure if there's anything else I didn't cover on it. It's a 24.75 inch scale length, 14-inch radius. It is a C-shaped neck, and it's got hollow body construction, so it's very lightweight, even though it has all this hardware on the top. The Danelectro sitar. And then the last one, I had kind of glanced over this thing a few days ago. I was like, maybe it's not cool enough. So I started looking into it a little bit more, and I was blown away with all the features on it. And we've been carrying Godin for years. And so sometimes they just kind of fall by the wayside. Like, it's another Godin. It's another A5. It's another multi-act. But the A5 bass has won me over. Now, this is more bass than I could ever use. It's more bass than I would ever need. But the functionality, the capability, and everything that comes with it, it's just a perfect adaptation to anyone's collection. If you are an ever-growing bass player and you're looking for all sorts of odds and ends and you want to cover every spectrum possible that comes from playing bass, this is a must-have in your arsenal, and I would have completely glanced over it until this show. So, which is interesting for me to say because it's very It's very rare that if someone here at Island Music that's working here comes up to me and goes, hey, do we have this? What is it? I can usually tell them how much it is, where it's at in the shop, how to find it in the computer. It's just my brain is a walking portable point of sale system. I don't know how to explain it. It's just how it works. And this is one of those things where, like, yeah, I knew we had it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it until today. It just kind of, like I said, sat in the corner of my mind. I knew we had it. All right, now I'm kind of composed. Godin refers to this as a semi-acoustic bass. And I had to really do some digging and figure out, what do they mean by that? What does Godin mean by semi-acoustic? And then I realized it's got two different types of acoustic preamps in it. And it has this nice, more of like a semi-hollow style body. It's kind of in between semi-hollow and full hollow. It's not as thick. It's a dual chambered body. Made in Canada. Phenomenal setup on everything. So, semi-acoustic is a 2-voice pickup system. And so, you have your lace sensor pickup here, underneath the thumb rest. I guess that's the theme for basses today, is a good old thumb rest. And then down here in the bridge, in the saddle, each individual string has its own saddle pickup. So, you have your lace sensor. We have our LR bags, individual saddle pickups. The LR bags is controlled right here on the side. You have side control, essentially volume and tone. It's kind of just all you're looking at there. But here's where it gets really cool. When you start messing with the LR bags pickup, this is specifically designed, specially made for this guitar. You see it on other Godins and things, but for this guitar, it is unique to this instrument. So on here, you have your three, you have volume, treble, mid, bass, and saturation. Volume, treble, mid, bass. So volume, treble, mid, bass, and then saturation. And the saturation is cool because that allows you to control the overall warmth and tone of the instrument after you've EQ'd everything. The other very unique, cool thing about this is you have 2 outputs. So with those 2 outputs, say you only want to use the saddle preamp. Boom, you have an output for that. Maybe you only want to use the lace sensor. You have an output for that. But what's really cool is you have the option to mix them. So you can either be electric or acoustic, given the options you have from the preamps. But you have the option to mix. And if you strictly just want to mix it all in, you can do that too. That's why you have the controls for everything. You can plug it out as one instrument, control it all. You can plug it as individual instruments, feed them through different sources and even channels on your mixer. Or record while you're recording. Say if you want to have a dual input from your system, you can do that too. So this is the Godin A5 Ultra Fretless, or Godin, sorry. Very unique, very, very interesting. Handmade in Canada. Spruce top. It was the body is called, I'm looking at the wrong instrument, Canadian Laurentia basswood. So, yeah, I don't, like I said, this just kind of sat in the corner of my mind for a while, and I walked past it today while I was grabbing everything to be like, oh, look at this very cool thing. So I did some digging. I found out it's way cooler than I thought. So, bam. Other notable mentions that we tend to have in stock that other places just don't is left-handed Rickenbackers, left-handed Hofners, which you would think more places would carry left-handed Hofners given the fact that their most notable musician of all time was a left-handed bass player. Is a left-handed bass player.
Probably still is.
I'd say he's still left-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Paul McCartney, by the way. Unless you buy into that weird theory that Paul McCartney's not Paul McCartney. We'll talk about that later. I'm trying to think of other fun, notable mentions. We always have something unique in the percussion department. That one's a little harder to talk about just because there's so many different world percussion and hand drums and things like that laying around. We don't have it now, but sometimes from Gretsch, we get the guitar that has the humbucker and the Bigsby tremolo system on it. From Schecter, we've had a 7-string acoustic. We get baritones all the time. So yeah, if you're looking for something off the wall and different, come check us out. We have everything from, in the percussion section, we get like tongue drums and like I said, the different shapes of hand drums. All kinds of crazy things come through the store. And sometimes you just sit there and you're like, I don't know what we're ever going to do with this. And then 3 days later, someone's like, I need it. And I'm like, cool. And that's how some of the more interesting things leave here. But it's also fun to see because it expands our horizons a little bit. And even if you don't want to buy one, but you just want to check them out, come on in and check these instruments out. It's fun. It's unique. They're great conversation starters. And it's also fun to just meet up with your friends after you get in the music store. It's like, I just played this sitar that has a mini harp on it, and I don't know what to do with my life anymore. And that usually means you got to buy it. So, because then you just can't stop thinking about it. You're like, man, I need that sitar, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I need that sitar, like right now, right? I need that sitar. Anyways, this is Live at 5. I'm Jack.
I'm Jake.
We'll see you next week.